the Anfield Wrap after Liverpool got beat by 3-0 by Nottingham Forest at Anfield on Saturday. We are in association with our friends at Peloton, partnering with us for a second time. Massively powered by Peloton IQ. I went down to London recently, saw a lot of the stuff that was down there, was really, really impressed by it actually. It's the cross-training series, it's Bike, Tread, Bike Plus, and it's all in there, and it helps you train smarter and stronger. Takes loads of information off you. The new model does actually film you as you go and make suggestions about how you can improve the way in which you exercise. For me, on the whole, it was generally just do more, Echo, for God's sake. But it was really, really impressive stuff all the way through. Existing members get a huge software update, Club Peloton stuff, and go from there. And there's an Anfield Wrap team as well on Peloton. So whatever it is you're up to, we're very, very pleased to partner with them, and they are the official cardio and strength partner of Liverpool Football Club. We now are going to talk about Liverpool Football Club. I've got Michael from Capoeira for all to come. Capoeira for all to come. That is to come. But whether we like it or not, Rob Gutmann, we've got to talk about Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest. So Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 3. We've all had approximately 48 hours. I was next to you in the match. It pretty much remains the most lacking in resilience of any Liverpool side for the last 10 years at Anfield that I can think of. It's not about tactical resilience, although that could be part of it. It's not even like they were overwhelmed, like you can argue maybe they were at times by Palace or by Brentford. This thing happened. Nottingham Forest scored a goal and Liverpool no longer wanted to know.
There's a part of me that sympathises with them because I'm sure that, they're human, and the way I felt when that goal went in was, oh my God, not again, surely not today. Because I know we're going to talk about it, we'd opened the match looking really quite, not just on top and them not having a sniff of our goal, but we looked comprehensively on top. There were murmurs behind me of the sort of fellas that say, it's coming this, it's coming this, I thought, I hate it when people do that because it utterly jinxes it. But they were within their rights to a degree. It was coming, but it was coming for Nottingham Forest. And to be simplistic about it, and sports psychology simplistic about it, I think there's only so many blows you can take which you don't fully deserve in the moment. And this, as the manager said afterwards, I'll rephrase it, the manager said, look, when we've had as many bad results as we've had, you can't say you've been unlucky. But in a number of moments, we've been unlucky-ish. And this was another one of those moments. And that's notwithstanding the idea that the goal itself probably shouldn't have stood given where the guy was in front of Alisson. But I do have some empathy, not sympathy, maybe some empathy with the players that this was just one disaster too many, that they couldn't not even just come back from, even mentally feel that it was a possibility that they could come back from it. That's how I feel about it. I mean, it's not an excuse, it doesn't make it better, but it's not surprising. Given where we are.
Me and Ian Ryan disagree with you, so I'll let Ian speak next.
Yeah, but you can want it to happen.
No, Rob, I think it's okay for you to feel like that, but they can't feel like that. I mean,
I don't want them to feel like that, but I get it.
But let's have it right. They are playing, and I know they've changed manager, but there's a reason they've changed manager 3 times this season. Nottingham Forest, they've not been great. They were 19th in the league, so a team that is and has been champions and currently is champions should be able to handle some adversity. At the minute, this Liverpool team can't handle any adversity on the pitch whatsoever. So
it's getting worse, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but
that was the worst lack of handling of the adversity.
It was, but they're so brittle, they're so fragile, and if anything goes wrong in any given football match, they just seem to capitulate. And now, I think for half an hour, of course, we are far the better team. I wouldn't say, we've got match cells at full capacity because we haven't. There's people blocking shots and stuff. By the way, you're allowed to block shots. Novel idea, I know, but defenders can't block stuff. And Forest did it really well. And
we don't block anything, do we?
No, we don't block a lot of stuff. But Liverpool are asking questions, I would say. They are asking questions. I would like them to have asked more, but they are doing relatively well in the game. And then the thing that happens. They go 1-0 down. And from then on in, I mean, you don't like to use words like a disgrace and stuff like that, but they're so bad. They are so bad at 1-0. And we'll come on to the second half, I'm sure. But what happens after half-time, it's borderline unforgivable, given the manager will have just given a team talk.
Let's talk about it now.
And then they find themselves 2 down.
What I'm driven mad about by the second is, first and foremost, it's their kick-off, and they've just ended up having the ball effectively for 40 seconds. It ends up in the back of the net.
They can sniff it, Neil.
Well, I was about to say, it's their right-back who scores. he is to the left-hand side of the penalty spot when he scores. So he's come all the way from right back to be left-hand side of Liverpool's penalty spot 12 yards out. Every Nottingham Forest player, bar Elliot Anderson, the 2 centre-backs and the goalkeeper, so that's 7 players, are all within 20, 22 yards of Liverpool's goal, Ian. To your point of they can sniff it, Nottingham Forest are a Sean Dyche team. They're 1-0 down. They've come out for half-time with kick-off, and they've gone, we're going at these.
Yeah.
And they get the reward. They really get the reward. They sniff the moment. He's there. And as I say, the opposition left-back sets up the opposition right-back on the left-hand side of the pitch. If that's not a team that thinks that Liverpool are weak in that moment, I don't know what else you're seeing. And that's exactly how it plays out. And it is an abomination of a goal that looks like a goal Liverpool have been conceding, not just under this manager, but under the previous manager as well.
Yeah.
It comes from that area, and the extent to which it just looks like the goal we concede, and they anticipate it massively.
Yeah, 100%. And let's be fair as well. You've got to give the opposition some credit. I think Dyche's game plan would have been that we're going to have to suffer a little bit, maybe for the first 15 or 20 minutes, because Liverpool are at home. They've suffered a 3-0 recently to City. They are going to come out and try and just, impose themselves on the game. But guess what, lads? If you can see that bit out, and if you can get a set piece and get ahead, and we know if you get a set piece against Liverpool, there's a strong chance you might get something from it. If you can do that, then we really are in business. And as I say, they sniff it, they go for it straight after half-time, sensing that Liverpool might still be feeling vulnerable. But from a Liverpool point of view, and I'm sure we'll come on to the manager, and there's a conversation to be had, absolutely. But in that moment, if you're him, you're thinking, fucking hell, boys, we've just had a team talk for 10, 15 minutes in the dressing room. Immediately after half-time, there's 2 lads. It's Salah, who actually plays quite well in the first half an hour. Salah doesn't track, and McAllister's terrible for the goal as well. Both of them could and should do a lot better. And as you said, the right back must think all his Christmas have come at once and just puts it in. And from there,
assist it, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Williams assisted for the on the other side, and it's a good finish. But
nobody throws themselves on the grenade. You referenced it earlier. I just don't see the way Forest, they come with a defensive game plan, obviously, so they were focused on their defending. They threw themselves on all those grenades in the first half. But when Nico Williams gets that, it's like we don't switch on. It's like going, well, what's going to happen next? This could be bad, rather than going, right, focus. The defending as a team is lacking all focus.
If Sean Rogers said on review, if he'd understand it more, if when the ball ends up on that left-hand side, if someone had fouled someone because they got too close, been too urgent, and then Forest had scored from the set piece, that would make more sense than what you actually see, which is Forest just sort of go bing, 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 wander around, and it ends up in the back of the net. And Beth, it's not an away game.
No.
And that shouldn't make that much difference anyway, but you might be able to sort of muster a little bit more sympathy if it was an away game. That was a lot of what was said after the Brentford game, was it's difficult, and it was 8 o'clock, and it was Saturday night, and it was, it's a tight ground, and you encourage them and they get up for it. They were playing at Anfield, and I think it is visibly about as poor as you're going to see a Liverpool performance be in terms of all-round courage. As soon as the bad things happened, that's the point. It's as soon as that first bad thing happens, it just spirals.
Yeah, I think you were absolutely right to mention that the problems defensively, they predate the current manager. They've been abject this season defensively. But some of the issues that they have had in terms of conceding that first goal, that's a problem that Liverpool have had for a long time. If you remember, I had a look at the numbers yesterday, actually. Liverpool's last season under Klopp, they went behind in the Premier League 17 times. Now, for a team that season had ambitions of winning the title, that's not good enough.
It's unbelievable the points all they got.
Yeah.
In the context of going, but that shows resilience at least. They would go behind and then they go, right, lads, let's go.
And that has been Liverpool's greatest strength under Klopp, wasn't it? Was that resilience, the whole mentality monsters thing, and that epitomised what Klopp's reign was, and that hasn't been there this season. But it was there at times last season when they had things go against them, when they went behind in games, they managed to come back, or if they needed a late winner, they managed to find one. And I think that whole thing about not putting your body on the line, not making blocks, that's not been Liverpool's style for even under Klopp. Even when they were really pumped up and stuff like that, they were still a team that had leaked goals. They weren't a team. Even under Klopp, there were times when you'd think, you see some teams, Arsenal for example, and Gabriel makes a pretty routine block and he's like pumping his fists, and sometimes from a Liverpool's perspective, you look at that and you go, they're playing up to this a little bit, but that is a team that really takes pride in their defending. And
You've
sometimes
seen Canate do it a few times and
yeah.
get into it when he's in the mood.
yeah, but that's
He did it against Villa. I noticed it against Villa. There was a lot of that,
Yeah.
what you've just described there, almost going over the top to kind of congratulate people for getting in the way of
Yeah.
stuff.
Connor Bradley.
But you've not really seen a lot of it. But against Villa, something seemed to have changed,
And
but then they revert back to type.
against Real Madrid as well. I think Alexis McAllister does it to somewhat. He gets involved in a
Yeah.
challenge and he stands and he goes. And I love to see that, you know. You maybe don't want that every single week because it means maybe you're putting your body on the line more than you need to or whatever, or you're under pressure more than you need to be. But that isn't there enough from Liverpool. It hasn't been there enough all season, and wasn't enough there at times last season as well. But it didn't need to be because they were scoring goals at the other end of the pitch. Whereas at the moment, Liverpool are so willing to concede that first goal. It's so easy for teams to, with their first shot on target, get at Liverpool. And that comes back to Rob's point about it not being fair. It isn't fair, really, because it feels like a very long time since Liverpool have had a goal or a result where you thought they had the rub of the green there with the way that ball fell. It feels like everything over all those little moments where Liverpool, you know, could have. It's against United, they hit the post 3 times. Those moments, it's not fair. But ultimately, football's not fair all the time, and no one's going to help the players. They've got to be the ones to drag themselves out of it.
But you know what? I mean, on the defending thing, there is a pride to defending.
Yeah.
There's a thing, you know, something Carragher, you could always get a sense of it in his game that he really cared about defending. Like, it was massive to him. You know, go back to the thing where Reyna's going for the Golden Glove stuff. They wanted to keep a clean sheet. That was so important. You don't ever feel like it feels that, which sounds mad to say that it's that important that Liverpool keep a clean sheet because they're not willing to do some of the hard yard stuff. You said before about feeling sorry for themselves, it's hard lines. But if you're going to be that bad at defending set pieces, guess what? You are going to concede set pieces. Then you are there to kind of almost be shot at if you can't do the basics at set pieces. And Liverpool are right down the bottom of the table, not only for scoring set pieces, for defending them. If you're going to be that bad at something consistently, guess what? People are going to take advantage of it, regardless of how you're knocking on the door or not knocking on the door in the other part of the game. Do you know what I mean? You're almost bringing it on yourself a little bit, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we're in a death spiral, confidence-wise. We're in a terrible tailspin, a descent, whatever the metaphor is, and we're not easily going to get out of it. And I don't think in these situations you can have the. I don't think you can't become mentality monsters in the middle of a tailspin. You need a little bit of the rub of the green, and unless Liverpool get that rub of the green one day soon, because I think they'll come onto the pitch in the next game and the game after, and they'll want to win and they'll try and put their best foot forward and express themselves. But if the things go against them, that have been going against them, continue to do so, they won't find the mentality. They won't dig themselves out. I tell you what, that sort of lack of throwing yourself on the ball, you know what that's about to my mind? It's because you realise, unlike a team that's in 11th, 12th place, a team that's used to being 11th, 12th place, a 1-0 down, you're still focused. You need to defend and not concede another goal. When you're the champions, when you're 1-0 down, the other side, a team as lowly as Forest, are literally wasting your time by attacking you. And mentally, you're already halfway up the pitch. So what we did at Crystal Palace in the last minute, which cost us the game, I think it was who comes off the post? Frimpong comes off the post in the last seconds because he's not interested in defending. He thinks, we should be winning this now. We got back into this, 10 to go. We can go, be quick about. That's the mentality, is they're not in a defensive mindset because of where they've come from. I think in these sort of crises, it's the manager's job to do this. You almost have to reset them and go, you're not a title contender. You're a team. And I know you don't like this, and I don't like this, but you almost need to say a draw's not a bad result, boys.
But part of being a title contender, I agree with you, by the way. But part of being a title contender is that you live in the moment that's in front of you.
Oh yeah,
and that's what they've got to get back to. They're not living in the moment. That's what's frustrating.
Play the next goal.
But also, ultimately, they play. I think, after it goes 1-0 down, it's almost like watching 11 players have 11 separate nightmares.
Yeah.
That's what they're playing. It's like they're playing in a nightmare. They're playing in it like this is the worst thing that could possibly. Now, where I think they almost need to get to is at some point, if you're the manager or someone, almost say to them, lads, the worst has happened. The worst's happened now. You might as well when bad
You're
things
out the
happen
title
now.
race.
But also more than that, the way in which you felt about it, and the way in which it's all gone, and the way. So the worst happened. So let's work back together and find this stuff out, because I think that the problem is from again, Sean said it really good on review. If you haven't listened, people should listen. Sean made that basically from 33, Liverpool aren't just playing Nottingham Forest. They're playing everything in the world in their own minds. From 33 till half time, they're playing everything in the world in their own minds. They're playing the league table. They're playing the idea of what's happened last season. They've got the horrible reality that surrounds them at all points. They're playing everything. They've stopped just playing Nottingham Forest in front of them. They're playing each other. That's my issue at the minute. Is I'm looking at them at times, and it's like they're not on the same team. People are pinging balls at one another. There's one that Jones plays, I think, second half to Szoboszlai, where he rattles it at his head. And Szoboszlai does brilliantly to keep it in. But it's like, they're not even... And I think that's what... You're watching them have 11 nightmares. But...
They want to score 3 goals in 1 goal. They can't play in the moment. Because the minute it goes 2, I'm thinking, I don't give a fuck if they score a goal. And I think they're thinking, we don't need a goal. We need 3 goals. A draw's no good to us. It's that mentality. That is the same point as yours. That is the nightmare they're living.
My issue with this is a team that won the league.
That's what I mean.
If I was watching...
You can feel that. It's they
This
can't
isn't
feel the
uncommon,
same.
though.
I know, Rob, but like what I'm watching.
I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm just explaining.
No, and I understand what you're trying to say, but there is an element of, like, boys, you can't just help yourselves a little bit. Like, I'm watching lads who are 6'3" and 6'4" pull out of challenges. They're pulling out of fucking challenges. They've lost 5 and 6. They're about to lose 6 and 7. And there's people pulling out of challenges in the middle of the park. And one of them is the lad who plays deepest in the Liverpool midfield. It can't happen. It just can't. And I like Gravenberch, but that can't happen. It just can't. And then the other lad who's doing it, he's 6'4". He plays left-hand side of an attack for Liverpool, and he's got form for doing it. It's not the first time I've seen him do that in a Liverpool shirt this season. Cody Gakpo.
Yeah.
You can't... Stuff like
Probably had
that.
his best half hour
Stuff
of the
like
season
that.
Before.
Everyone's got the data and everything now. But if you're the opposition and you're seeing Liverpool players do that, and as I say, it's not the first time, then it is a big sign to say, it's a big white flag to say, we don't fancy this. If it gets a little bit uncomfortable, we do not fancy it. And that's where other teams will start to sniff blood and smell it and think, we can have them here. That's why they come out the way they do. Not just because of those moments, but because you get a sense of it. That's why fans are leaving on 78. Now, I know it's 3-0, but fans are pouring out on 78. If you're a team that's knocking on the door and there's belief there and you're doing the right things, if you get a goal in 81 and then another one comes in 86, anything can happen in a football match. We've seen teams, Liverpool teams, come back from 3 down. But when that goes in on 78, there's not a chance Liverpool are even scoring 1. Everyone knows it, which is why people are leaving. That's where they are now. There's absolutely no belief. Some of that's got to come at the manager's door, and I think he accepts that. And as I say, we'll maybe come on to him a bit later on. I think there needs to be a conversation about that. But then I also think it's not just him. Some of the players, they've got to stand up. They've got to be counted more than they are, because there's just times in football matches when you're watching them just shrink.
I think when you look at probably the 2 biggest wins this season, it's Arsenal and Real Madrid. Now, obviously, you can maybe look at Arsenal and say, well, they weren't as offensive as they might have been. And obviously, they didn't have Saka and whatever. Maybe that made Liverpool's life a bit easier. But in that game, I think that was one of Konaté's best games of the season, because he defensively, it felt like he concentrated completely from the first minute to the last. Really concentrated. Real Madrid, the same. Every player battling to win, throw-ins, battling to win. There were people in the main stand in that Real Madrid game, and I know it was Real Madrid and it's different context and the atmosphere is obviously going to be different. But, when a player won a throw-in, they were getting up and they were like really getting into it and getting pumped up. And at the minute, you almost feel like Liverpool need to play with that intensity if they're playing Leeds at home. Like, ordinarily, they might not have to do that. But I think, like you say about the pulling out of challenges and standing up and being counted, the frustration this season is they've shown they can do it when they are completely focused, completely concentrated, when they think, right, we might have to do the hard yards against Arsenal because they are, potential title winners.
When they live in 10 minutes is the time. That idea, if we just get through, how do we all get through the next 10 minutes together? Because that's what, and again, this is back to my thing about trying to be in the moment a little bit more. Where that's I completely agree with you, but that's the key thing here is, right, how do we just get whatever the next 30 seconds looks like? How are we the best Liverpool we can be in that 30 seconds, and then it'll be a different 30 seconds. And I think that's what's sort of lacking with them. And I think this is where you do. you know, as I say, they look like they're playing in a nightmare. Where I understand why Rob's got sympathy with them because you're watching them have those struggles, but it is worth pointing out. I think that's the key thing. And what you're describing there is, tell you what, the worst case scenario is nothing goes wrong here for the next 5 minutes. And at the minute, I think in the games where that's not the case, they're really struggling with that. I don't think it's complex, but you know, that idea that you need to be doing a little bit more, and I think what you're saying is spot on.
Yeah, but it all comes back again to your point of like when things go against them, they're not just playing the game. They're not living in the moment. They're not playing the next 5 minutes. They are playing every defeat that they've had over the past few months.
They're playing the crisis.
They're playing the crisis. They're playing what Wayne Rooney's going to say on his podcast tomorrow morning. They're playing what the papers are going to write about them. They're playing, you know, talk of the manager getting sacked. They're playing all of that.
Yeah.
And I totally agree, because I get Ian's point in the sense, well, you know, we can be allowed to think that, but they're professional athletes and they shouldn't be thinking that. But ultimately, I think that is what's happening. You know, I think that's what's happened to them at times, again, under Klopp, when they sort of fell off toward the back end of that season, when it just sort of, you'd watch them at times, you know, the 2-0 away at Everton, and you could just see they were in the heads, they were thinking, right, if we don't win here, the title's gone, rather than just thinking, right, let's just mark Calvert-Lewin from this corner. And I think that is what they're doing at the minute. They are in a tailspin. And I think the only reason that... So I thought this spell of games, starting with Saturday, would be really good for them, because on paper it was against easier opponents. And I think the only way Liverpool get out of this is a run of 3 or 4 games where they win. Doesn't necessarily have to be fantastic performances, but just winning again, getting back into that groove. They've not managed to do that since that first run of games. But
it's a sports psychology issue for me at the moment. It always gets to this stage. I don't think it's, if only if we could swap out 5 and find another 5. I mean, yes, you can talk, there's tactical nuances you can talk, but every one of our criticisms thus far is either individually or collectively, they just didn't play well. There's not a system on earth. This is where I know we're going to talk about the manager's system on earth that really changes those set of outcomes, really. It's mindset.
Now, you might have noticed you're getting a little bit more free content this week. That is not a mistake. It is the Anfield Wrap's free week. And we do that to give you a bit more of a sample of what we're up to on the subscription service. So we're previewing every game. We're reviewing every game. You've got the smart people doing tactical analysis. You've got people like me in the pub after we've won, swinging my shirt around your head. Everything that you could want as a Liverpool fan, we have got you covered. So if you're enjoying it this week, we would encourage you to share the journey with us. You download the app, get stuck in, subscribe from there. We'd love to have you. There's also gift subscriptions as well. So if someone asks you what do you want for Christmas, tell them an Anfield Wrap subscription, send them to the shop, and you can subscribe that way as well. The choice is yours, but we'd love to have you on board. Up the Reds.
Not a system on earth. Ian, manager's got 2 big calls to make. It's hard to talk about this because there's almost, he makes the calls pre-match, and then there's the first 30 minutes, 33 minutes, and then there's everything that happens after that. I feel as though, of the 2 big calls, I think you can argue that one works and one doesn't. The one that works, arguably, is, I think, Szoboszlai. What he does at right back, which I don't think is just as simple as drop Szoboszlai in there. I think Szoboszlai and Jones, I think the right-hand side works quite well. Frankly, you might disagree with me. I think Isak over Ekitike is another example, and it's not the first time this season, of the manager trying to do something that he thinks will benefit Liverpool in the long term, that I would argue makes it less likely that Liverpool win the game in the short term. If you're in a situation where your team just needs to score first, maybe don't fucking do that.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Isak started. I think in my head, I thought he'd go Ekitike. I thought he would pick Gakpo. Now, I think you can definitely have a discussion about, well, just play Ekitike on the left-hand side and let Isak go through the middle if you want to try and get him into some kind of fitness. But given he didn't play the second game against Sweden, and the manager had said, we really want him to get minutes in that game to feed into, obviously, what Liverpool were then going to go on and do over the course of the next 6-7 weeks. I thought he might just hold him back for PSV on the Wednesday, but he chooses not to. But I did feel sorry for Isak. He's taking a little bit of stick, I've noticed, from certain quarters. I just don't think Liverpool can get him in the game. There's about 20 minutes, 22 minutes before he's even touched the ball.
He has to go wide to get the
He
ball.
does. He drops off, doesn't he, to the
instructive, I
left
think.
hand side. Yeah, I think to try and get into the game because he knows he's not getting it. And obviously he's not fully fit as well. You know, that's
Far
clear.
from it.
That's clear for everyone to see. So I did feel sorry for him. I just don't think Liverpool are getting anywhere near the best out of him. Obviously, notwithstanding, he's not been at peak fitness since he's arrived. So that is a bit of a problem. On the right back thing, again, I understood one or two people questioning the Szoboszlai thing because on the pre-match show that we do before the game, I did say I'd be a little bit concerned if Szoboszlai comes out of the midfield just because I think a midfield with Curtis and McAllister in it doesn't feel like it's got enough about it in terms of physicality and pace for me. But the manager's got his hands tied a little bit. Calvin Ramsey's not played any football really at all. He has that game against Crystal Palace.
It would be mad to
and
start
he's,
Ramsey.
and he's knackered by half-time. So the idea of throwing him into a Premier League game just seemed a little bit fanciful for me. Gomez would have been an idea, but he hadn't trained. So the manager said he couldn't play him from the start. So that takes him out the equation.
Do you not think...
And then he left with Curtis Jones, and I've seen Curtis Jones play right back before and do okay, but it's far from ideal. So I understood that he landed on Szoboszlai in the end, is probably what I'm saying.
I think I feel you can look at that decision between those two players and which goes midfield, which goes right back in two ways. Firstly, you have to say, if Liverpool score in the first 35, which they should have done, I think they played not superbly, but as well enough against a low block team to have opened them up and scored one or two times. And if that happens, you then go, the manager's vindicated in his initial selection. Just, it's clear, vindicated, it's worked. But if I could rewind, I think the lesson of that season is the COVID season where we lose central defenders all over the show, and Klopp has to learn the lesson that stop trying to don't create a new problem trying to fix a problem. I think the midfield had been functioning. Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. We're playing against a low block team at home. It almost doesn't matter if you put me at right back. Do you know what I mean? Oh, well, I'm being glib.
I'd like to see that, to be fair.
I'd be, yeah.
Probably would have done a better job.
It'd have been some side. Let's put it this way, I don't think it would have gone badly wrong. Certainly, in the initial phase of the game, Curtis Jones had been right back. But having said that, it's easy with hindsight because we could have won the game in the first 35 minutes.
I probably would have gone Jones in the end, but I can understand why the manager went with Szoboszlai because when he has played there, he's done okay. But I just always feel without Szoboszlai in the middle of the park at the minute, because he's been the best one by a mile, Liverpool are suffering a little bit without him being in there. But then your point about he does quite well and Liverpool do well, I think it's entirely fair.
Well, I think the thing is, I thought the right-hand side just worked well for 30 minutes.
I get it.
Because what you'd see is Szoboszlai I actually thought it helped with the build-up. Szoboszlai vacated right-back, which we've been struggling with on Konate's side. Szoboszlai vacated right-back, took a man with him. Jones then dropped in. They've got a midfield to go, and we'll do a go with him or not, because if I go with him, I'm leaving a big hole.
Yeah.
Jones then fills in there. Konate comes a little bit more central, and a couple of times Liverpool played out better than they played out in ages. So I was like, that was what I was looking for. And it wasn't as though I was going, we're not getting Salah in the game. Salah was in the game. So Szoboszlai nearly scores. Salah was in the game. Szoboszlai has the deflected shot. Yeah. There's, for me, I just thought, well, that's just working. I think the manager is clearly ended up, not just with Isak. I think there's been a number of them where he's had fitness issues over the course of the season. McAllister's another big name in that. In general, both of the actually established right backs are in there. You can maybe have a conversation about Gomez. I do wonder about Robertson in a couple of different... My point here is that the manager had a lot to manage.
Yeah.
But he makes with the decision that he makes, Beth, arguably, you can say, mean that Liverpool are just less good in attack at the minute, because the whole purpose of picking Isak is to get him ready to lead the attack. Therefore, logically speaking, he's not ready to lead the attack yet, and yet he's leading the attack.
Yeah, it is a difficult one. The whole Isak thing is hard, because when does he get his minutes? I mean, I suppose you could argue PSV is a game that Liverpool should be winning, but then again, so is Nottingham Forest. But you think maybe do you wait and do you bring him on then? It's hard, and I think the thing is, it's easier to understand for me now, because actually Ekitike started very, very well. Really like him, think he's a great player, but he's only actually scored one in his last 9. So it's not as if you've taken him out of the team when he's been super.
Apart from France, he was electric for them against decent opposition.
Yeah, I suppose that comes into it.
Off the left. That's why I was so stunned he didn't try him off the left.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a plan, and I know obviously Liverpool, they needed 2 strikers, and that's why they've got them both. But there will have had to have been conversations about how you have Ekitike and Isak on the pitch at the same time for the money that they both came in for. Obviously, Isak is the headline, but Ekitike wasn't cheap either. So I think there will have had to have been conversations about, do you change formation a little bit? Do you play one of them off the left?
But doesn't this also come back to the idea that when he picks Isak, and listen, there's a reason why anyway. Week in, week out, look up and down the league, loads of lads who play centre forwards do not play 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's a point here when he selects Isak, is he knows he can't do one of them where he can say to Isak, do me a favour, do me 90 minutes of running in 60. Because at the minute the point is just that they don't think he can do 90 minutes of running.
Yeah.
And I think that this is, so when he selects Isak, Beth, this goes back to my original thing. He knows he's got to sub him. He probably is told he's got to sub him on the hour and he gives him 7 minutes more because of the game state. But this is the thing, isn't this is the decision that he's making, and by virtue of making that decision, what are the ramifications for the manager and for the team?
Yeah, and listen, there'd probably been people who said if Ekitike started and the game goes the same way, well, you've got 125. I'm not saying people within this room, but people in the media will be saying, well, you've got £125 million striker sat on the bench there. So I do have sympathy. It's a difficult decision, but and I also agree with your point earlier, where it feels like one of those decisions that's he feels will benefit Liverpool in the long term by having Isak fit, but he's compromising maybe things in the short term, which when you are in, I don't want to say a precarious position, because we know that the club have sort of, I don't think at this moment in time have any concerns in terms of getting rid of him. But I just think, well,
the club's in a precarious position. The season's in a precarious position. You needed to win the first home game of the run.
Yeah. And so I think maybe that was not the best time to put him in.
The manager will be, we can talk about players like looking short of confidence and second guessing and stuff. And I get the point the guys were making earlier on, but before the Man City game, they had won 2 matches. They had won 2 football matches against 2 good sides. So, how fragile is the confidence if they're going in, 2 wins out of 3 and stuff. But the manager will be second guessing himself. And I always think now, these are the moments when, you do find out a lot about people. Bear in mind, when Slot come in, full of confidence, don't forget, this is the same guy that calls Mohamed Salah out in a training session for not working hard enough. But you wonder if that happened now, would he have the confidence in his ability to be able to do something like that? Because things are going so bad. I'm not so sure, because confidence affects people in different ways. But on your point about kind of the individuals and maybe they're all kind of playing in their own nightmare, I also felt about the attack that there's no one really, in the 3 that start, there's no one really willing to maybe sacrifice themselves a little bit. So they're all 3 lads who are looking to get the goal and are almost trying to force it a little bit. Gakpo's doing that thing where he cuts in, tries to get a shot off. Salah, we know, will always try and come in on his left and get a shot off. And Isak's a number 9. But when front 3s function at the very, very best, you always feel like there's one lad who's willing to kind of sacrifice himself a little bit for the greater good, for the other 2. Firmino did it great with Mane and Salah. You're a big fan of Darwin. I wasn't as big a fan towards the end, but you couldn't argue. He'd sacrifice himself for Mohamed Salah. No problem. Even some of the best front 3s in the Premier League, when you think about Rooney, Ronaldo and Tevez, Ronaldo was a star attraction. The other 2 were unbelievable players. They wanted to get goals, but they would sacrifice themselves for the other fella. It never felt quite balanced at the weekend, especially when you go a goal down and then the pressure is on and you've got to force it a little bit.
They've not played together.
Well, no, and they haven't played together as well, but it almost feels like that balance in the front 3 is not quite right as well as all they haven't played together, they maybe haven't quite built up those patterns of play and stuff. It feels like individuals really are trying to force it now. There's a desperation across lots of areas of the team, but not least of all in that forward area.
I think there's an irony that I think in that golden 35 minutes when our universe looked like it might have a reasonable future, I thought both wingers, Gakpo and Salah, were having some of their best moments of the season. They both. Salah went on to have. Salah's not had a good season, but I thought he was much more like his. And we've said it in patches recently, but he was much more like his old self at times in this game and throughout it. And Gakpo was going outside his man for the first time, I thought, all season.
Linked really well with his fullback.
Yeah, he did. I thought I was going. You know what? It was as though he'd sat that player down and goes, something you can't just do that bit where you put your foot on the ball, have a little look up and bend one to the back post. You got to have something else, and you have the ability, Cody. And he actually showed it. I thought, why haven't you done this before? I mean, you obviously
Is this the first half an hour you're talking about now?
Yes.
Because that's when it's going okay. It's when it goes against them. You start to see the
I
desperation.
don't
And
want
it's not, do you know what I mean?
start Cody Gakpo for a while in an ideal world. I liked him off the bench in Madrid, and he can do that. I don't really rate him. I like the. I might have been coming out of the game if that first 35 had gone according to plan and we'd scored a goal. Going, do you know what? Cody Gakpo scored a goal. We picked up. We won 2-0. I was wrong. Let's play in the next game. But at the moment, I'm not saying he's exactly been my fall guy all season, but I don't think he's in our top 3 forwards at the moment. And where we have options, I wouldn't be picking him, even if some players can't finish games.
I think as well, in terms of that sense of desperation, I think as well that comes back a little bit to how poor Liverpool are defending, because I think at the moment, if you've got a defence behind you that's keeping everything out, then you think, well, you've only got to score 1 goal to win the game. Whereas it's so often now, it's 6 games in a row they've gone behind in the. Oh no, sorry, they had the Villa game in between, didn't they? But they've gone behind. They've conceded the first goal 6 times this season, lost all 6 in the league, and it's almost like then the forwards who are already a little bit low on confidence, already misfiring, 20 minutes into a game are thinking, oh well, now we've got to score at least 2. And again, you can argue, well, they shouldn't be thinking like that. The professional footballers, and they should be well capable of scoring 2 goals. But I think when a team is low on confidence anyway, when players are low on confidence, there must be moments where, and listen, that they're not sort of absolved of any defensive responsibility. Salah should have done better for that second goal. They are part of defending as well. But there must have been moments this season where some of the forwards have looked and thought, oh, come on, lads, just keep a clean sheet for the first half an hour, and then we've got a good chance of going on to give ourselves a platform. Whereas it feels so often now that Liverpool are on the back foot, that's where the desperation comes. Players are trying to force it. Cody Gakpo's trying to spam balls to the back post because they're just so desperate to score to get Liverpool out of this hole. Whereas if Liverpool managed to keep it 0-0 going on to 60, 70 minutes, you think, well, all it takes is 1 goal and then you might have won the game. But Liverpool just haven't done that enough this season.
I remember this conversation, God, like it was yesterday, in the tail end of the Roy Evans era, and I'm going back, I'm still thinking whether that was yesterday, but it's a while ago. That was an era where Liverpool, it felt like for a good while, weren't able to defend anything like a top half of the table team, never mind a team that could challenge. But they had exciting forwards there, McManaman here, Robbie Fowler there, Stan Collymore in his brief pomp. But I remember it being said then that the forwards would just find it so, I don't know who said it, was so dispiriting that despite their efforts, the back half of the team always had a rick in it, always had a goal in. And it's that starts a cancer that spreads right throughout the team. And that's why these kind of conversations inevitably go back to, it's got to be back to basics. It's got to be turn this around from the back forward. I don't know, and all the cliches are by.
But the part why that's difficult is, and I was prepared, certainly if they'd got a result against Forest, to put City in its own box and to do the whole ego, the Etihad, you can get beat any time.
Me too.
They've done that against Villa and they did it against Real Madrid. And if nothing else, do that in your home games, win your home games. My point here now is that I think, for me, the parallel is 22-23. I think there's huge parallels, and this is where I think for the manager, the managerial conversation, Ian, I think it becomes a little bit difficult. 22-23 is Liverpool draw 3-3 with Brighton on the 1st of October, and they draw with Arsenal 2-2. Everyone will remember the game on the 9th of April. And in all the matches in the gap between the two, Liverpool come back, concede first and come back in 2 matches. One's a 7-1 win against Rangers. Barely counts. The other one is Leicester score first and Wout Faes 2 own goals. Barely counts. This doesn't happen in football, if you know what I mean. In all those other matches in that run, Liverpool either draw 0-0, so no one concedes, no one scores, or they score first and they win, or they concede first and they lose. That is from 1st of October to the 9th of April. Yeah. That's under Jurgen Klopp, who is a manager that everyone will talk about his leadership and his ability to motivate players. That is, and for me, this is the key parallel. And a number of those players that we're seeing at the minute, they were in that team as well. And for me, this is why it's exceptionally difficult now for the manager, because when it goes this way, it takes a long time it can take a long time to fix it. And in that spell, it's not like they don't win games. They beat Man United 7-0.
Yeah.
Nothing actually builds confidence. They win 2 or 3 games on the bounce in that spell. Nothing actually builds confidence. Nothing brings that confidence back. They remain brittle.
Yeah, and I think even that season, even to finish fifth, they have to win 5 out of the last 7, I think, just to get where they get to. So yeah, really poor season. I think they lose 9 that 22-23 season. I mean, they're on 6 already now, and you'd absolutely say they're going to probably lose at least another 3 games. So yeah, I can see the similarities and stuff. Yeah, there's lads who you've mentioned there who, as I say, yeah, they've been through some of this. I think, the captain's obviously come out and said some things, hasn't he, as well? He's been very front foot. And again, he's been asked questions, so he's going to answer them and stuff. But I almost don't, I wouldn't say I'm annoyed by it, but it's almost like, well, there's a lot of talk. There's been a lot of these things, but lads, actions speak louder than words. We need to see it on the pitch. We can all come out and make big bold statements.
There was a point on Saturday where the captain's trying to take a throw in the right back position. That doesn't fucking bode well for me.
Yeah.
When I start to see the captain in the right back position, I'm always a bit like, so he's running around here trying to do everybody else's job.
Yeah.
He's felt like he's got to get sucked into this.
And I think he hit someone towards the end, doesn't he? I'm thinking, that's almost like 90 minutes too late. I just feel like, not saying it's for show and stuff. Well, yeah, absolutely. But
it's not about players.
No, I agree. And listen, the book will stop with him. And I think he said that after the game, hasn't he? He will have to take ownership of this.
It's platitude, though, but it's true. I mean, he's saying it's my. He was doing it in a. No, do you know what? I actually I listened to his press conference back this morning. It's the first time I could bear to hear any of them talk without me being very angry with them. I thought, do you know what? Considering how dire the situation is, I thought he was nigh on word perfect, if you can be word perfect when you're apologising for a disaster, which is what was going on. But at the same time, he's the only one who can get us out of it. Yeah, he has to be, as much as anything, I keep saying this, he has to be, his managers are 2 things. They have to be tactical magicians and they have to be a sports psychologist par exemplar. They're, the best version of that. At the moment, there's more of an emphasis on sports psychology. I said a week or so ago on the show, I think Liverpool almost need to set themselves. If I was a slot, I would go, we're in transition here. We might not win our next game or the next one. I don't mind. What I want you to be is the best team in this country as a minimum in the second half of the season. That's our ambition. I don't want to talk about trophies. I don't want to talk about the title. I don't want to talk about Champions League qualification. I don't want to talk about winning the bloody Champions League or any cups. Our aim is we are treating the season now as an extended pre-season, if you like, one which we're going to be fully motivated for. We want to win matches. But each game, whether we win, draw or lose it, is part of a process. We're climbing towards a mountain, to a pinnacle of a mountain. That's where we've got to get to. We may get to it within 2 weeks. It may take us 2 months. He's got to take the pressure off them. If he's a great manager, that's what he will do. I remember Wenger, even when Arsenal were very good, and when they were in crisis, even when they were still able to win things, him being asked, it stuck with me. He goes, "What do you do to get out of this?" And he just said, "Good habits. All you can do is have good habits. So just focus you've got to narrow your focus. That's the only way. And he's got to convince them of this. And maybe as a fan base, we've also all got to calm down a bit. Not necessarily walk out on 78. I mean, I know I walked out on 88, so I didn't want to see any minutes added on. I walked out early 2 weeks ago at City. I think it would help if we all chilled now and realised the game's up. But in the future, given the quality of player we have, given what we've seen this manager can do, it can be all right again. We just need to get our minds out of the feeling that this is only going in a doom-laden trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, I do really like the manager. I've been accused a few times on Twitter of being too positive about him or not being negative enough about him. But I think he will be the first to admit that he has had a very poor season in terms of some of his decisions, some of his substitutions, that they haven't been good. But the reason I still have a degree of sympathy for him is that I don't think the players have helped him. And that comes back to what we've said about, winning those individual battles. He's not sat in, giving team talks saying, pull out of a challenge there. Do you know what? Those little moments.
But that is on him. I think where I feel sorry for him is I don't think he's been a lucky general in more than a fair share of moments. But them's the breaks or the lack of breaks, I think. I always think, well, maybe we are saying this, at the point in a bad situation where we're going, hey, you know what? It's not all about the manager. It's about the players. They should look at themselves. When we're saying that, that's when the game is up, quite frankly.
Yeah, but I also think, people who want to And I think it's totally valid to have concerns about him at the moment. So, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So I'm not saying you need to back him to the hilt and not question him, because I 100% think he needs to be questioned at this moment in time, and people can have concerns, and that is completely valid. So that's not what I'm saying here. But I think the thing that's frustrated me over this period is you get, I mean, it's mainly on social media, to be honest, but you get people saying, well, Liverpool only won the league last season because of Salah. We had a great season. They only won the league because, you know, it was Klopp's team, it was the players. But now it's all the manager's fault. And to me, it's like those two things can't be true. You've either got to say, well, he had some hand in it last season, and therefore has responsibility this season, or the players also have some responsibility. You can't absolve him of anything positive from last season and then say this is completely his fault. That's my issue. And I also think when you're a manager of Liverpool Football Club, the same way if you're a manager of Manchester United, of Real Madrid, your job is about being more than a coach. Even though his title is head coach, you're a statesman in a way. And yeah, he's a statesman in a different way to Jurgen Klopp. He's maybe less of a natural sort of really enigmatic, charismatic figure. But I think from very, very early on, having sat in, you know, most of his press conferences and things post-match, pre-match, I think he's always come across in the way that you would like a Liverpool manager to come across. And I think that is a big part of the job. I think he handled the summer impeccably well, in a way that I don't think there's a single other manager, including Klopp, who could have done a better job in the way he guided the club through what was an impossibly difficult summer.
Klopp's almost implied that himself.
Yeah. And so that is why I still have patience with him. I still have sympathy for him, as well as I believe he's a good manager. I think being the manager of Liverpool Football Club is a very hard job. And, you know, I've seen people suggest Iraola and Glasner. And listen, both great managers. And Iraola in particular, I think, could go on to be an excellent manager. But he's the manager of Bournemouth. And being manager of Bournemouth is a very, very different level of responsibility, pressure, than being manager of Liverpool.
They had a crappy draw, didn't they, at the weekend, Bournemouth?
Yeah.
I think Beth's point's right though in that. I mean, you know, it's a totally different level of football. Going from clubs who are
different expectations.
You know, you talk about it sometimes when you talk about players as well, and you go, well, you know, Kirk has suddenly come to Liverpool. You can have 3 or 4 bad games for Bournemouth, and no one really cares. You can get beat 3 out of 4 games for Palace and Bournemouth, and it just gets swept under the carpet. We know, we're living and breathing this. You do not get to do that at Liverpool Football Club. It's a big step up. And as I say, I think both of those managers are really good, by the way. But it is a step up. I think the stuff around, you know, trying to rewrite history, I can't buy into it. You know, you can't suddenly say it's Klopp's team that won the league. Klopp didn't win the league with that team, so let's just put that to bed a little bit. You know, the manager, he got loads of praise last season because he delivered great results. He got loads out of the players. Salah has his best season, arguably. Does really good stuff with Gravenberch where he comes to the party. He looked brilliant for large part of the campaign. The manager deserved loads and loads of plaudits last season. You can't take that away from him at all. However, he is in a situation now where he's lost 6 out of 7. And unfortunately, he is managing one of the biggest clubs in the world. And you don't get to lose 6 out of 7 without there being some questions asked. Now, I said after Manchester City, you know, I want to give him time because I think he's a good manager and he's been a good manager and he's done some really, really good things. Obviously, winning the league, that will buy him a lot of credit. But at the same time, you know, this can't go on forever. I think we all know that. You know, if it continued in this manner, then, you know, conversations need to be had. But because I do like him, I do want to see him given the time to try and put it right. I've said it before, I'm a big believer in giving people the opportunity. But obviously that only goes, you can only have so long because unfortunately results will dictate what happens. And, you know, he will start having to fix some of this. We're going to have to see it with our own eyes where it starts to look and feel a bit better. And I agree with Beth in terms of, you know, Van Dijk come out and said, you know, the players are letting them down a little bit. I mean, that's not a great statement, that. I mean, fucking sort it out for the stars because they can control that. They can control that bit. They're playing the games.
It's bad when that happens.
So you saying stuff like that, you know, people will go, well, the captain coming out and, you know, big words and coming. I don't like hearing stuff like that. I really don't. But the manager is the leader of the team. He is the focal point. So ultimately the buck will stop with him. And that's sometimes where you feel sorry for managers. But listen, it's a harsh, brutal world. He is the manager of the football club. So if results don't improve, it's his head on the chopping block. And I think there's different things he could do to help himself. I think he's got to start, last season you looked at his substitutions and you were thinking, fucking hell, he's on point here all the time. He's getting so many things right. He's getting so many things wrong now. There's so many times when the back four's virtually changing. The whole back four's virtually changing in some games. That shouldn't really be a thing, but it is. He's thrown on so many forwards at different times and you're thinking, is this
forwards
just a
he
case
doesn't like, by the way.
I know, and is it just a case of I'm throwing so much shit at the wall, eventually some of it will stick? That doesn't feel or look great either. So I understand why people are questioning him. And I'm not someone who's sitting here saying, if you think there should be a change, you're completely wrong. I can understand how people are making a case for that. Because when you lose 6 games out of 7 for this football club, there has to be conversations and there has to be questions asked. It just comes with the territory. But I think what I would say is, managers who win leagues, they're not 10 a penny. They don't come around all the time. So you've got to be careful what you wish for, because you might land on another guy who isn't capable of winning the league. He might not be capable of it because it's hard to do. So you've got to make sure you've got to the end of the process and you feel it's absolutely the only thing you can do is to part ways. And I don't think Liverpool are quite there yet.
There's a key. I mean, we've supported Liverpool a long time. You've been through the 31 wilderness years. We've had these conversations, and we've had good managers who've left. Roy Evans, who had a good period, then had to go. Julio had a good period, who had to go. Benitez had to go. Brendan Rodgers. These guys that all had high spots, high moments. But there was a point where they had to go. And none of us, I think, got it exactly right in terms of our call of when that moment should be. In hindsight, you could always go, well, the people who went early were probably right. But you have to have a plan until you think there's a point where the manager's position is untenable. And I almost think you should all write down a piece of it in an envelope, Brendan Rodgers style, and go, so we're not bullshitting ourselves and each other. Even you and I, Beth, who want to support this manager, and I think the majority of sensible fans think it's not going to make things. It's not the likeliest thing to make things better to sack this guy tomorrow. But if you tell me now he's going to lose the next 5, I'm going, and you're promising me that's going to happen, I'm going to go, well, then there's going to be a point within that where his position is simply untenable, and you might as well get Johnny Heitinger back to be the coach. It almost doesn't matter, because a manager can become a busted flush, and therefore no one's worse than him. I don't think we're at that point with this guy yet. I didn't realise Van Dijk had said that. We have to look at ourselves, the players, because I think that's a really dark sign. Because even with some bad spells under Klopp, but I don't think I ever heard that language coming from the players. Because Klopp would have been the first to come and go, what are you talking about? I'm in charge. I'm the guy. I decide how you play in a way, whether you play well or bad.
But it's Van Dijk wanting to doing the same
thing.
The manager,
he's doing
Van Dijk
the right
wants to take
thing,
responsibility.
It's a bad sign.
Slot comes out and does the same. They're almost doing these 2 interviews at once, where Van Dijk's saying this on the one hand, and Slot's saying, "No, this is down to me, and I've got to sort this out."
What's he meant to say?
So I think it is difficult, and also Van Dijk is in there, and I think that genuinely. I think Van Dijk was angry with his teammates.
Yeah, and I also think Van Dijk, I wasn't actually in the mix zone on Saturday, but I think he was asked.
You would have been asked, I'm sure.
I think the words, are you letting the manager down, was probably the question.
Okay.
I don't know 100%, but I think from reading the way the quotes were read, that is what I think probably happened.
And as I say, I thought on the pitch, last 5 minutes in particular.
But if the answer to that question is yes, that's not.
No, it's not
acceptable. Really.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I thought Virgil was absolute. His blood was boiling with 5 to go.
Yeah.
I thought absolutely his blood was boiling. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree, whether you think it should be done differently or not. All right, there'll be a longer show on the manager coming up on Tour Unwrapped. That'll be out later today. If you're listening to this on Monday, if you're listening to it on Tuesday, it was out yesterday. So look at it that way. You've had it there for a while, and it's there for you. So that is coming out. That will be later on today. All right then. Here is Michael from Capoeira for All. I'm joined by Michael from Capoeira for All, which does a million things. Capoeira for All has been going for 10 years. You just said this to me.
Yeah.
10 years, but the way in which you use it, and you use it in the midst of the community, is to develop a whole range of programs. We're going to talk about one in particular, but 10 years it's a hell of a long time to be doing it.
Yeah. We were talking about it the other day, actually. You know, when you have the idea of creating something like that through the medium of Capoeira, it's like, you know, where can it go? And we were looking at our old business plans. And what was funny is that we were going, we're doing this, but also there's all these other doors that is open for us. So obviously Capoeira being a cultural art form, you know, physical with movement and dance and all, and martial arts as well. Obviously, it's really good within education. It's good with helping people benefit with, you know, life skills and confidence and spatial awareness and fitness and all of these things. But what's been really important is Capoeira's give us the opportunity to follow some of our passions as well. Obviously, some of my passion is acting. It's been talking about then and writing as well. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Yeah,
we are here to talk about that, but the community anchor that it remains around all these programs, the whole centre, it is really important, isn't it? You know, it's powerful, and it's something that you've honed over the 10 years. You want to talk about the old business plans, but you can have the plans. Yeah, you learn through doing.
100%, and
that's what's gone on.
Yeah, 100%. And we started very much as a kind of educational focused organisation. And, you know, very quickly we started to build that community. Obviously, as a CIC, we're able to apply for different bids and different funding opportunities, which then takes us in different directions. You know, last time we were talking about the children in need work that we did. And that's, you know, that's really blew up. We've been really lucky enough to get 3 years funding from them. And that's helped us, again, like you said, build that community. We've got an amazing community of young people that have entered the country, you know, and we're supporting them twice a week to, again, build that community, to kind of ground them, to help them
show opportunities.
Show opportunities, yeah. And all of the young boys that and girls that we work with, you know, they all have dreams as well. You know, they all want to come, they all want to be involved, and they all want to push forward. So, you know, for us, that's just, unbelievable.
So there's a new programme that you're really excited about.
Really excited.
About getting new voices, new writing. It's called Rebel Voices?
It's called Rebel Voices, yeah. So we did it first time 18 months ago. It was a Rise Up Rebel programme, and it was funded by Audible. And it's interesting, isn't it, Audible, as the organisation that it is, and us as a cultural arts organisation. We went for the application, and they kind of said, you know, how does Capoeira fit into this? And everything we do is through the ethos and values of Capoeira, not just the practice as well. So, as I was saying before, you know, one of my passions being writing, being in the industry as a person of, you know, mixed identity, very much identifying as black as well, and understanding that there are different challenges and certain challenges for people of colour at the moment, and have been for a number of years. And, you know, this work has been through, you know, 2 years of talking with people that are currently in the industry, through the programmes, and trying to understand, you know, where are some of the barriers. You know, as a writer yourself, that it's so hard to get into the industry. But when that's intersected with stuff like race and stuff like even geography and class, it then becomes a little bit more challenging. So what I want to be clear about is this is not taken away from anyone or anything else. Actually, it's trying to have a look at what are some of the challenges, you know, how are they affecting people who are trying to enter the industry.
So is this partnering with Audible for the next year as well?
Yeah, so Audible phoned us after the first programme and said, we've got another funding opportunity. With the work that you've done, we'd like you to apply again. Give me 3 days to write the bid. Scratching my eyes out. I was like, ah. So got it in, and they were really excited about it. And this one's a little bit different. So the last one was focused on playwriting. Yeah. And this one focused on radio and audio drama. So got the whole team together. We got some amazing leaders, acclaimed writers, Morris Bestman and Barbara Phillips, who've been in the industry for a number of years.
Really
so they
solid
lead the programme.
Backgrounds as well.
Yeah. So Barbara and Miriam Musa, who works as part of Royal Court in their community kind of themes, they wrote, I can't remember what it was called, but actually they got an award for it, or they got nominated for an award, and it's like the Oscars of audio drama. Yeah. So, you know, everything we did.
You ever tried to write an audio drama?
I haven't.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I haven't. Morris talks to me about it all the time, and that's the thing about this one. Each programme, writing a play is totally different to writing a screenplay or a book or a novel, and that's what we're focused on this one. So it's still based around the tenets of story, but actually what's the medium we're now telling it through.
It sounds absolutely fascinating. So there's a period of time now, part of why you've wanted to come in, you gave me a shout about it, was because you want to let people know that it's available. So it's around for about, I think there's about 3 more weeks where people can get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that, and what do you need them to get in touch with? Because this can't be as simple as turn up with a fully polished audio drama.
Not at all.
Because it's so hard,
so
and we don't expect
challenging.
people to come from nowhere.
Yeah.
So what is it that you want people to have to then get in touch with you?
So the whole idea of the last one that we did, I want to start there, was that that was for new writers. So anyone could get involved, whether you're interested in writing or it's something you may have started to do. We've actually shifted with this one, and this is about emerging creators. So it's people that may have a credit already, they may have been writing for a number of years, and what we've said is for them to come with 10 pages of original work, so they can see that they can write, and then a one-page treatment for an original or unique audio drama idea, and we'll help them to develop the series outline and then help them to develop their pilot episode, and then the top 2 will be produced down at the Vocal Booth in Toxteth TV.
Tremendous. So how many people are you looking to get onto the programme?
So we've got...
is there a specific number? Or
15.
15?
Yeah, so we can go up to 15. Obviously, we don't loathe to turn people away because, these opportunities are quite rare. And what they can do, people can go down to the website, capoeiraforall.org, and we've got a page where it says Rise Up Rebel Voices. Have a read through some of the information about the programme, see if it's something that they're interested in, and then just below that, you've got a part where you can submit your 10 pages and your one-page treatments. And as I say, opened on the 18th, so it'll be open for 30 days, right through to the 18th of December, and then we'll have a period of time where we'll go through all the applications, we'll announce them in January and start mid-January.
It sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is exciting, isn't
I'm
it?
looking
I can
forward
see
to
that you're absolutely buzzing.
I am like that.
You came in absolutely buzzing.
I was, yeah.
It's that's let's be clear. That's one thing.
Yeah.
It's one great thing. It's one thing. You're constantly on the lookout for more. Any other programs, anything else that's going, any other funding opportunities, any other mentoring opportunities for the community, both the close community, but also then creating a wider community. If anyone wants to get in touch who's listening to this, who thinks they could help support in any way, you'd want them to do that as well, yeah?
Please, get in touch with us. We've been lucky enough to be funded by Football for Change, who've given us some more opportunities recently to kind of further develop that
Children
work that
in
we're
Need,
doing.
Audible.
Children in Need.
These are good partners.
Audible, brilliant partners. The National Lottery. That funding's going to be coming to an end at the moment. So, anyone who is interested in supporting us to kind of make the change that we are within the communities, please get in contact. You can go through to the website. My number's there. You can give me a call and we can have a conversation and think, that's the power of community arts for me. It's about these networks. It's about these connections. Thanks again for yourself for bringing us in for the second time and being able to, use the platform to talk about our work.
There we are. What's the website again?
www.capoeiraforall.org.
And on there you'll be able to find that programme and everything else that's going on. Thanks a lot. Thanks to Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. On Thursday, I am in Waterstones talking to Joey Durso about his book. So if you can get down to that, it's about a 6:30 start. Excellent stuff. More Than a Shirt is the name of Joey's book. It's very, very good indeed. Also, everything on the Anfield Wrap is free this week. That isn't because we looked at the fixtures and thought that's a good run of fixtures. Last year, that actually included Manchester City and Real Madrid. It's more that it's the one directly after the November international break that we always pick. So if you are into additional anger and sadness at Liverpool's current plight, get stuck in and go from there. Everything's free. So, for instance, I'm doing a show that's I'm looking ahead to the PSV game with a journalist over in Holland. That is coming out later on tomorrow. We've got our weekend show where we look at the wider sort of Premier League picture. That's coming out all the way through until the post-match stuff after West Ham United, which I am sort of looking forward to, in that I will be with Rob in a pub in York. So whatever happens...
Win, draw or lose.
Yes, and you will hear the post-match from York. An away that's not an away is Rob Gutmann's second favourite type of an away, and that's what we're doing. So that is on Sunday. So that takes us all the way through. So the stuff all the way through. Win, draw or lose.
First to the bar for the booze, as Neil Ruddock once famously said, was quoted as having been said.
Marvellous stuff. Excellent. I'll just take my glasses off and throw them as I rub my face yet again whilst doing work. All right.
Roy Hodgson style.
Roy Hodgson style. PSV have won 11 of the 13 league games.
Terrific.
They're
Great. Would be great to play a team that isn't bang in form.
Well, I
wouldn't it?
think this is no bad
Fucking
thing
hell.
in a couple of ways. Their European form's a bit mad. They've drawn both their away games so far against Leverkusen and Olympiacos. They lost to Union Saint-Gilloise at home. They beat Napoli 6-2 at home. Makes no sense, that does it, Roberto? Makes no sense. But that's where they're up to. They're a side that the manager will know well, Ian. We go there last season with a B team. PSV deserved to win the game, but Liverpool are actually quite competitive with a B team, certainly for 60 minutes in that way that sometimes when you do make a number of changes, the lads that come in, one of the problems is they're just not fit. I had real sympathy for Jayden Dance that night, who ran round up front, was really, I thought, willing. Decent movement, but was just lacking a little bit of pace and also got battered on about 3 or 4 occasions, if I remember rightly. It is one where Liverpool will go into the game as favourites. Liverpool will have the better team with the better players. PSV will, I think, want to play their way. They will want to play on the front foot as well. I think it will be a good game of football.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's a game Liverpool you'd expect them to win, but I mean, Christ, who knows? But before this game,
I don't expect them to win.
I mean,
expect.
I mean, yeah, maybe expect's a strong word, but they're at home, and before the weekend, one thing you are saying is, bar the Man United game, the home form's okay. It's on the road where you've seen all the problems and stuff. But obviously, the Forest result will now put another seed of doubt into people's minds. But in Europe, bar the game away at Galatasaray, again, you think about Real Madrid recently. They were at it and stuff. So
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I think they'll be.
Frankfurt, brilliant performance.
Yeah. I mean, they go down, but yeah, they turn it round and stuff. But I think they'll be okay on Wednesday. West Ham is the concern, if I'm being honest. That is. I said to you before we came on air. You can see them winning Wednesday and then going there Sunday, and it being a bit of a nightmare again. To be honest, that's the worry at the minute.
In form.
That's the they've maybe taken a little bit of a corner, which is nice.
Callum Wilson banging them in.
Yeah. So, but the manager's got some questions to kind of think about in terms of selection and stuff. What does he do with Canati? I mean,
well, I've currently got. I've got 6 question marks on my piece of paper. No, 5.
Well, firstly, what's the principle he approaches the game? Because I know a lot of people, and we're going to hear this going into it, in a crisis, you've got to pick your best team to play your way out.
I will be fucking furious if off the back of the weekend he doesn't start Isak.
He doesn't start Isak.
He's got to. If the point of this is to build his fitness, and it's Saturday to Wednesday, you do not now go, well, that one's not his business. If you're trying to build his fitness up, you've got to start with. So if you've done it on Saturday, where we get to sort of see the impact.
But I agree with him. It might be in his head where they do it, they push him against Frankfurt, and that's when he gets injured because he goes the weekend and then Wednesday again. And I think this is where managers will start second guessing things. I'll
be honest, Ian, I don't want to see him start at West Ham if he's not started on Wednesday.
But that's back to our original point. We thought he would have started against PSV and not started against Forest at the weekend. So listen, he may well start. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Is it one of them where Calvin Ramsey is the only right back they've got at the club at the minute who's available? Do they have a look at him in this game because you'd rather Szoboszlai was playing in the middle of the park?
Wouldn't he just given him the last 10 against? Literally giving him the last 10
he
against Forest.
I think I'd gamble on Ramsey. I really do.
I mean, I've got no idea of his level, really. I've not seen enough of the footballer, but they're in a situation now where...
Played against Crystal Palace, didn't he? A strong Crystal Palace.
And he did all right for half an hour.
Yeah.
But they now have no right back, so someone's got to play there. And I would
better than
rather...
Reece Williams.
I'd rather it wasn't Szoboszlai at the weekend because I want him in midfield. So they might have a look at that. Does he play Joe Gomez? Does he play Gomez against PSV? I mean, he said before the game he couldn't do 7 games in 22 days. I think we all know that because of his fitness issues. But watching Canati at the minute, it's so painful. It really is.
I think if you're Joe Gomez at the moment, and I know obviously there was the caveat that he hadn't trained all of last week, but you've got to be in the manager's office going, boss, what do I need to do to get in this team? Because he must be, with the greatest of respect, looking at Canate and thinking, well, if I can't get into the team when he's playing like this, when am I ever going to get into the team? And I do think there is an element with Joe Gomez. It's almost like Slot is treating him at the moment like break glass in case of emergency. He's very aware he's the only other centre-back that Liverpool have got. He doesn't want, as much as he keeps saying, Gravenberch's an option, Robertson's an option. Nobody wants to see Gravenberch, Robertson or Endo playing at centre-half in a Premier League game. So I think he is almost trying to wrap him in cotton wool a little bit with Gomez. But at this point, and it sort of goes back to what Rob said earlier about sort of saying, right, well, the league's gone now. Liverpool are not winning the league this season. Take that pressure off. What have Liverpool got to lose by
well, I tell you what occurs to me, Beth, is there's a lot of rumour that the Gahey deal is done, right? The Mark Gahey to Liverpool in January deals. If that's the case, and Liverpool know they are going to get him at the beginning of January, this is a massive if then, I would flog Joe Gomez. I don't mean flog. I mean, I'd risk him getting injured because you've only got 5 weeks till January the 1st, haven't you? Yeah. It's about 5.
It's a lot of games.
It is a lot of games.
It is a lot of games, but you know what? he probably doesn't play for Liverpool ever again after
you know what?
January
He could,
1st.
he could get injured in training, but also
He's
if
got to
you
take a
if you
chance.
are going to call on Joe Gomez at any point, I mean.
Yeah.
That's got no fitness. He's got absolutely no fitness. So if Canati does go down with an injury, Gomez will have played no games virtually. So the fact that they've used him so little, I mean, whether this was true or not, but when they were looking to do a bit of haggling for Mark Gay, and I have to say, you know, at the time, I think people were a little bit kind on Liverpool and saying that they'd done all they could. But I think, you know, look at it now. They really should have pushed that. I mean, they've left themselves in such a poor position. And when you leave things that late, guess what? Things can go wrong. But there was rumours about Palace wanting to have Gomez as part of that deal. That was definitely mentioned. The Liverpool weren't entertaining it. But you think, how they've used Gomez, they may as well have let that happen if that was a thing, because they've used him so little over the course of the season. As you said, Beth, you're feeling sorry for him now.
I'd start Gomez right back against West Ham, and I'd work back from that. So does it help him to play centre back against PSV? If it does, then I'd look at that. If not, I would definitely start Gomez right back against West Ham.
You can't play more than an hour from this first game now.
You've got a decision to make as to where it is and how it is that you want to do it. But I would start Gomez against West Ham. That is my thing at right back. By the way, at right back, which does therefore mean that
and Leeds, you'd say as well. Those games away from home.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an argument that you do Gomez in both of them, and then you sort of work back from there. But what would you do at centre back for this then? I mean, by all means, say Gomez. If you think it's Gomez, say Gomez.
I think if Gomez is okay to go, I think there becomes a point where you've said about Canate, like if you take him out and then you've got to go back to him, then that might be a problem. But at the moment, Neil, Canate's so bad in games,
and he's also mentally. Can he be more mentally fragile?
Can it get any worse?
Is it actually possible?
Can it get any worse?
Sitting down on the pitch like a Wes Anderson film.
I don't think you can, regardless of whilst I advocate taking a risk and just playing Joe Gomez at the moment, I don't think you can ask him to repeat starts of games. I don't even think you can risk playing.
So who are you playing centre back against PSV? You've got to pick the team, and I'm going to make you pick a right back.
I think
I'll be amazed if it's Ramsey, but I think it's going to be. Go on.
I don't think it's going to be Ramsey.
No, but for you, who would you pick? I'm saying you.
I tell you what, I'd be nervous. I don't want to lose this game. I'd be nervous about changing the entire right side of my defence, although I suppose the full-back side is gone anyway, just for a sense of continuity. We're acting like Canate plays badly every single game, and he was there while we were beating Real Madrid and was fighting it. So it's not that black and white that Canate just needs binning at all costs. I think I'd be inclined to go, I don't know, Gomez at right back, I think. I'd be inclined to give him an hour at right back and persevere with Canate with a view to possibly looking for Gomez to get another half an hour against West Ham, somewhere along the line, maybe as a substitute right back, and maybe starting for an hour against Sunderland. And I think you might manage. I want to get Gomez in the team, either centre-back or right-back. And I think it's about, I'd put my blinkers on and go, how's that best achieved? Is it best by half an hour against PSV or best by an hour against PSV? I think it's difficult to calibrate, but I think you've got to start taking the risk, but you can't play him 65, 65, 65. You can't do that.
Even if it's Gomez or Ramsey, they're only doing an hour for you, aren't they?
So who would you go at centre-half? Would you pick Gomez at centre-half?
I think a Ward. The only concern is if he doesn't feel he can go twice in 4 days, I think you'd have to go Canate, because I want Gomez at right back against West Ham. I do. I think he's got to play against West Ham right back. So if Gomez is capable of going Wednesday, Saturday, then yes. But if he's not,
yeah, I think I'd be tempted to give him, because he's barely played, has he? So he needs football. I think I'd be tempted to put Gomez at right back for, even if it's 45, and then you either put Jones or Szoboszlai there in the second half, or you give Ramsey a chance in the second half. But with a view to him playing, I agree with everyone. I think it's got to be a view for him being in that team on Sunday.
Okay. Who's left back?
Well, Kirkers, yeah.
I'd pick Kirkers.
Kirkers.
Yeah, I don't think Robbo's particularly great for the third goal. I don't think any of them are at the weekend.
He's played too much football.
It's a dead ball situation, that, and not one of them is alert to it.
Did they do annoyed with the referee afterwards? Did you see? There is a reason why they were annoyed with the referee afterwards, because the referee didn't blow his whistle before he took it. So they acted like it was going to be a free kick they were going to get set for.
Right.
And then he just took it. And then the referee actually blows the whistle while the ball's in midair. And I think they were making the point to the referee of, well, if we're playing to the whistle, are we playing to the whistle or not playing to the whistle? That said, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So that's sorted out. Who are you playing in midfield?
Have we sorted right back out?
Well, I think it feels as though you've sort of consensused yourself into an hour of Gomez. It feels a little bit like to therefore get Ian's hour of Gomez against West Ham.
Gomez and Ramsey sharing the position over the course of the 90. I'm going to settle on and keeping the centre halves together, keeping Kirkers there, which means I think he's got to make.
None of this feels ideal.
None of it feels ideal.
It's not great.
And at some point, you're going to have to give Szoboszlai a rest in this run. Everyone's going to go, oh, you can't leave him out. We need the thing. Well, maybe this is the one where you bring Jones in for McAllister, and it's Gravenberch, Jones, and Szoboszlai.
That's the midfield I'd do, and then maybe if you're winning, hopefully by a couple of goals, you take Szoboszlai
Well, if they
off.
score first, it's sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they score first, they can do what they want. They can play me if they score first, because they'll definitely win.
I think broadly speaking, I think his approach would be to make 3 changes a game throughout this run.
They can't play me, Beth. I'm not registered.
Right.
I know, and that midfield,
January.
I think I'd go along with that. Again, I didn't think Curtis was particularly great at the weekend, but I didn't think McAllister was either. So I'd probably land with Curtis, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai in the middle of the park.
I suppose the only thing
There's not loads of options.
the
is
only
there?
thing you'd say about McAllister is he's probably been better in Europe than he has been in the league.
In a funny way, I sort of want I want a vexed, furious McAllister against West Ham.
Right. Okay.
I want McAllister who feels as though he shouldn't have been left out for the midweek game to then go and prove his point against West Ham United. I'd quite like some proving of points.
Yeah.
More interestingly, the attack then.
Well, I'm of the view he's like, without being a qualified sports scientist, I'm of the view he's got to start Isak, but go on.
I agree. And I also think we do have to have a look at Ekitike off the left properly, given his performances for France. Gakpo's I'd go Ekitike, Isak, Salah, and be damned.
I do sort of think, and I don't know how much this will come into the manager's thinking, but last season, when obviously Liverpool changed pretty much the whole team against PSV, Gakpo played because it was his old club. And I do think there might be an element of
He can come on the hour for Isak.
Yeah, but I think Gakpo will play. I don't necessarily think he should, but I think he will.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no kind of. I don't really care about sentiments at this moment in time, to be honest. In terms of getting to go
I
against-
agree. I don't think he should let that influence him.
I just think. I mean, I think if he can get Salah, Isak, and Ekitike playing, then I'd happily see that. But
Your issue with that, if I'm the manager and I'm being purely sort of devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying there is, what that means is I am definitely making you weaker with my first sub on 60. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at my first sub on 60 and my second sub, because realistically, you all want, therefore, to have the option, even if it's gone well.
You did that against Madrid.
Isak and Ekitike to, I'm just saying, Isak and Ekitike to be able to play the game that's coming up on Sunday against West Ham. You probably don't want them both doing 90, probably. So you're going to end up taking them both off, which therefore means I'm definitely making you weaker because I'm bringing Chiesa or Ekitike or Rio on.
Well, look, I mean, if Isak can't start, if it is a case of he's not got 2 games in him, or 2 start him in 4 days, then I'd be tempted to go Salah, Ekitike, and Chiesa.
I would really like to see.
Yeah, I like that.
Chiesa off the left.
A little bit like what he did at Frankfurt, where he has both Ekitike and Isak starting up front, but obviously that means a little bit of a formational change, which I don't think he will do. But I suppose we have seen him occasionally go for 4-4-2, and I think if you're going to try it sooner rather than later.
But also, just if Isak sort of pulls that way anyway, with Ekitike, let Salah and Szoboszlai do their own thing on the other side. It's almost like a bit more like, forget 4-4-2, but almost a bit more like 4-2-4.
Yeah.
Where you almost got Szoboszlai so close that Szoboszlai and Salah are a little partnership. Isak and Ekitike can be a little partnership and go from there.
Or you bench Salah and have him as an option to come on in a front 2, maybe. I don't know.
Who are you playing wide right then if you're doing that? Who are
Szoboszlai,
you playing wide left?
Jones, maybe.
And then you play McAllister.
McAllister and Gravenberch in a 2 in the middle.
Okay, it's very Unai Emery.
Yeah,
It's not a bad thing. He's doing quite well at the minute.
He
but
definitely won't do this, by the way. I'm just,
No.
you just sort of feel like I'd like to see the 2 of them play together, Ekitike and Isak.
Okay, thank you very much to Beth, to Rob, to Ian, Paddy and Andy behind the scenes on this one. Peloton for partnering with us, Michael for coming in as well. Liverpool play PSV, the best score first.